Hey Shawtys, this is Brittany
and Lauren,
and welcome to our podcast where you can have whatever you like. We said you can have whatever you like. Yeah.
Everyone in the audience, can you hear us?
I'm hoping it's not a problem, but I can hear my cats going full King Kong out there. Unless if there's literally someone that broke in.
But I always feel like we're about to do something so serious. Hey Shawtys, welcome to the Whatever You Like podcast, presented by your hosts, Brittany and Lauren.
Hey Shawtys, welcome back. And it is the 14th episode today. Woo! Titled Intuition. And I have a feeling this episode is going to be really great.
Me too.
You're feeling it, right?
Yes. I have to start singing Feel Myself. That's not the song for today.
Well, speaking of the song for today, we should probably sing it, even though it may be just as bad as every other time, but we'll try.
Let's party.
We're giving a shout out to the song itself. Let's get it.
Hit it, Brit Tree.
I'm just a simple girl in a high-tech digital world. Really trying to understand all the powers of ruthless man. This here shit's big brother's boss. Hey, Moss can't find a job in a world of postmodern fad. But it's good, now it's bad. It's not hard to understand. Just follow this simple plan. Follow your heart.
I think that's enough. How was that?
Great. It was like you transformed to a different country there for a minute and I didn't know what was happening.
She changes her voice.
I just wasn't expecting it. It
Yeah.
was really cute though. But she does change her voice a lot in that song.
I don't get paid for my voice changes, but you know.
Yours are just as good as hers.
Well, I wouldn't say that. But it is fun to do. It's fun to sing that song in the shower when you're shaving your legs. Well, yeah, that's a segue into the commentary. So basically, that's what this song originated from. She had a deal with Chic? Is that how you say it? Chic or Chic? Anyways, the razor company. And they came out with this new Intuition razor, which is a special, I guess.
It was like one of my first razors.
It was? So what was it like? I remember having one too, but it's been a while.
A razor in the middle, and then the bar around it is some hydrating.
Yeah, it has the gel, like a
And
moisturizer.
so you don't need to use shave cream.
Oh,
You can just
okay.
shave your legs in the shower with just water. And it's supposed to be better for your skin, I guess. It's like all in one.
Yeah, it's an easier process.
Like for like younger girls to like use. I
So.
used those razors for a while.
I remember I
younger.
used them. I think actually because of this song. I was like, I like this song. So, Mom, I want the Intuition.
Oh yeah, I
But-
think I was just lazy. I was like, yeah, all in one. Sign me up.
So part of my commentary is that this was a different type of song for Joel to make because she's normally a folk kind of singer, but she ended up getting this contract. I think she said that her mom got the contract because her mom was managing at one point. It was hard for her to transition to a poppy song because it is more pop. And she was like, how am I going to do this?
But you said she made this song for the commercial.
Yeah, I think she just had to write a song for it, but I think it had to be called Intuition or have that in there somewhere.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why the razor was called Intuition. Did you look into that at all?
Maybe, because I do have a disclaimer. The reason I'm saying this is because I do have a little mini segment today, so we'll get to that. We'll see. That's good.
Is this a 200 words or less part?
Oh, fuck. I skipped that.
Yeah.
Guys, okay, I'm just so excited to talk about intuition, I guess. 200 words or less, Lauren. I already kind of gave my commentary, but I can give some more. That's not part of the 200 words or less, or it'll just be part of the less. We'll do the math later, and you can say whatever you need to say.
It's just so funny that we've been doing this podcast. What episode did we say this?
We're on the 14th.
I think at first with the 200 words or less, it was like, let's see if it'll work. It's a funny stick because we're both lawyers. And now it's every week I'm so used to it. Isn't that crazy how something becomes so common? And the whole time I'm thinking, 200 words or less, what am I going to say? And then I started talking about razors. I'm like, oh, we did here.
The Chic messed up this shtick.
It did. 200 words or less. I don't have any commentary for this song specifically, besides we watched the Razor commercial, which was cool to rewatch it. And I've definitely seen the Razor commercials before. I've never heard the full song until Brittany played it.
Did you watch the music video a little bit?
Video a little bit.
That was actually going to be part of my my commentary too, just because I read her memoir literally last month. I have a little bit more background just already. She was talking about how whenever she did do this song and even the video, she made the video a bit ironical, but people were still calling her a sellout for doing this song. Like her fans, the things that they would criticize her for about how she dressed in the video or things that being more poppy, which even for her, it wasn't really like that. I guess it was just so different from what she had been dressing, but it wasn't super poppy either.
She kind of reminds me of a mixture, because I'm not as familiar with the artist as Brittany is. She just reminds me of a mixture of a lot of really good female artists that I like in a lot of ways that kind of mix together. But she does remind me of someone that we would have listened to back then.
She was talking about in her memoir, because she grew up in Alaska. Actually, she said her grandparents on both sides, they were there before it was even a state and settled there. So she grew up in the country, but also the Alaskan version of the country. So like it's winter country, I guess. And so she said she didn't know really what pop culture even was. She grew up on songs that were like completely different.
That's interesting.
When she went into the music industry, it was a very big difference in terms of the pop side.
I can see that though.
Yeah.
I feel like the pop side's probably way different.
She said that she performed with her dad and brothers when she was a kid at bars and everything.
I feel like that's how a lot of girls probably that age got into that kind of music, I would assume.
I think she's mentioned her parents were musical. And I apologize. I know I read the book, but it's a lot of information to remember.
It's fine. Brittany tabs all of her books though.
I do, so I can remember. I'll show you my lovely tabbing here in a little bit when we go into that more. Another thing that Jewel said in her memoir that I thought applied to our lovely singing, she said, audiences don't care if you sing correctly. They care if they feel something.
100%.
So as long as you shorties feel something, even if it's cringe.
No,
but
people love
memorable.
the sing along. I think it's funny because I think it brings back songs people haven't listened to in a while, but also just the fun of hanging out with two friends doing like a sing along. It's cute. I mean, it makes us cringe, but I'm glad you guys like it, you know?
But I just thought that was funny.
That is
I
really
came
funny.
across that in my notes and I was like, you know what? That reminds me of our podcast.
That's sweet though.
But anyways, I think that's it for the commentary part. Do we want to move on to our little game? Favorite lyric, no context.
Yes.
I like the bridge of the song, but my favorite lyric, no context, is you learned cool from magazines. You learned love from Charlie Sheen.
I knew you were going to pick that one though.
Because I watched the Charlie Sheen documentary like 3 times. So
I knew you were going to pick
but that's not the context.
P.S. That wasn't the context. Pretend like you didn't hear that.
But you know, it's kind of wild is she dated Sean Penn for a while and he's BFFs with Charlie Sheen and was in the documentary.
That's interesting.
So I wonder if that's why she put him in that song.
Because what year did the song come out?
2003.
Gosh, that seems like so long ago now.
That's like math. It's too
That's
much
like-
math for me to do.
That's like math and statistics. We don't do that here.
Yeah, we
but
don't
it's
do that here.
Definitely over 10 or
We don't have
over
a
20
license to
years.
math.
We have license to practice law, barely, but we don't have a license to math. They didn't give us that. I try not to pick the chorus because I feel like that's cheesy a lot of times.
But sometimes the chorus is,
I know, but I like that when we do these, this is the first time, a lot of the times we're like reading the lyrics. We don't sit down and read them usually. I'm sure you guys don't either. So I try to actually read them and be like, what do I connect with? But for this song, just since I don't know it as well, I think the one part that I did know coming into it, I'd heard before, was to follow your heart, your intuition. And I just think that it's a good point. And there's some songs, it's like, what's the underlying message of the song? And for me, that's a good message.
Right, but that's not your context, right?
Nope, not my context.
Okay. But that's okay. So follow your heart, your intuition.
But there's way more context. There's favorite lyrics, some context. It has nothing to do with the Charlie Sheen documentary or the fact that I really like that lyric.
I think our audience knows by now that we just do what we want here. We do what you like, but we do what we like, and we just do it.
Just do it.
Or like Nike. Sponsor us. I don't know if we should have them.
What do we recycle every day? They should sponsor us. Sponsor us.
Well, I just heard something about them controversial, so I didn't know if that would be a good thing, but don't sue us. I'm not going to say it.
Well, I didn't know that.
We'll see. Or Adidas. We did our favorite lyric, no context, so we can mosey our way into the next segment. So, Shawtys, do you want to take a moment to guess today's topic? Just go on your gut feeling. You have 2 seconds.
Go.
1, 2. Today, our episode topic is on women's intuition. If you just said intuition, then you lose.
Has to be both words.
Yeah, you can't just cop out and just say the name of the song. That's too easy.
Yeah.
You use outside of the box thinking for this show, for this podcast show, televised series. Wait, what do you call it on YouTube? YouTubeized? YouTube television.
Show, televised series, podcast thing that we do every week.
But anyways, I actually wrote a joke and I wanted to start it off before our discussion.
I'm ready.
I'm kind of nervous. I hope you laugh. Lauren, what's the difference between intuition and a woman's intuition?
What?
Vagina.
That's not what I was expecting.
Isn't that great? I think Charlie Sheen would love that joke.
Charlie Sheen would love that joke.
Anyways, today we're specifically talking about women's intuition. And actually, it's funny because you said that your favorite lyric is the follow your heart, your intuition part. And I was going to talk about that as part of the discussion because I was going to see what you thought. What would your definition be of women's intuition? Just off the cuff if you had to mansplain it to me.
What we do on this podcast is mansplaining to men who aren't listening and aren't following directions correctly. What is women's intuition?
Yeah.
When I think of intuition, I think of trust your gut. But when I think of specifically women's intuition, I just feel like women have a different sense of intuition. We can sense things differently. And I feel like we are more likely to trust our guts than maybe men are.
It's like stronger. It's like a superpower kind of.
It kind of is like a superpower.
We don't have much, guys.
Take what we can get.
Because I think some people may argue it's like a myth type of concept. I don't think really anyone I know. I think there's just on an evolutionary level, there's been so many examples that everyone just kind of is like, yeah, that's a thing. You know?
Definitely a thing.
When I was reading the lyrics for the song, I think of women's intuition or really just intuition in general. I think it's more of a mind thing than a heart thing because I feel like you can love somebody but not be following your gut feeling. So I was like, I don't know if I agree with that part of the lyric. I mean, I get what she's saying. But then she also says, let go of your mind. So it is a gut feeling, but it's not a heart feeling. Follow your gut.
Your intuition.
I guess that doesn't sound as nice.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of women, they might, not on purpose, but ignore one or the other. And it's hard to make the two match sometimes on your gut what the right decision is, but your heart might want something else. And I think that's different for everyone, but specifically every woman, because I swear if you ask anyone that we're friends with or that we know, they would say they have some sort of intuition or gut feeling about things. We don't always follow it when we should, but I do think it's there.
I think I just thought of situations that I've been in where my heart wants things to work and my gut feeling is like, this is wrong type of situation.
I do feel like usually when I trust my gut, it's usually right. Yeah.
See, I don't know how I feel about that. Because I think I just second guess myself a lot. I feel like I also just have really bad luck. I don't think I have a bad sense of reading people, but I think I stay inside a lot to avoid situations. I just try not to put myself in a dangerous situation where I have to figure that out because I'm just a scaredy cat.
I don't know. I feel like I've just been in a lot of situations where
you love danger. You've had a lot of practice, probably.
You make it sound like I'm climbing buildings like that guy. I'm not.
It is mental gymnastics sometimes. But no, I'm just kidding.
No, but I feel like I've just had a lot of experiences where when I did follow my heart regarding something and when I should have just trusted my gut, I would have got out of a situation sooner or I would have not made a mistake that I had made before. But it's really hard to do that. It's hard to recognize that and navigate it because when you're in something so deep, you want to follow your heart and you think you're doing the right thing. But usually when I'm in those kind of situations, looking back on it now and reflecting, I'm like, damn, I should have just trusted my gut. Because I think sometimes your judgment gets clouded by your heart.
Do you think your gut's more connected to your brain or your heart is more connected to
Definitely
your
gut.
See, that's what I'm saying. Her lyrics are wrong. No offense. I'm not an expert here.
I think you're battling both.
When I think of my heart, I think of not logical. But also, like, gut feeling is not really logical either. But it is more like danger awareness, I guess.
Yeah, it's more intuition. But I do think I have heard people talk about, too, is that you also don't want to give up following your heart, too, or following your dreams or things like that. Because I do think even though in your gut you're like, I'm never going to be able to do that or something, you should still follow your heart sometimes. But I do think check with your intuition or your gut is important.
I was actually going to say, do you feel like you have a strong intuition or that you trust it completely? Or what's your confidence level in your intuition skills?
Well, if you would have asked me like 10 years ago, I would have said, damn it, I wasn't trusting my gut at all. And I made a lot of bad decisions. But I just think now that we're in our 30s.
Yeah, it grows with age.
I just feel like we've learned a lot and we've overcame a lot that now I have a lot more confidence in trusting my gut than I would have had 10 years ago. But that's just me.
I feel like it's a good sign, though, if you're at the oldest age you're at, you feel like that's the highest level of confidence you feel about that type of thing. I think it's a good sign. We're doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
Well, you are.
We both are.
No. I feel the same way, though, even though I don't know, like, the level of strength my intuition has, just because I don't think I put myself in a lot of scenarios.
You don't like danger?
No, I really hate it, actually. I have more fears now as an adult. I'm more afraid of heights, Now I'm more fearful. So I'm just really scared, guys. But I mean, still, I think it's at a better level than it would have been when I knew less.
I think it always grows, even if you're not using it or recognizing it every day. It grows with time and experience.
Yeah, even if it's not something you're directly involved in. If you just experience, like you said, or knowing people that have gone through certain things, you know what to look out for. And plus you have all that true crime documentaries. Are they considered documentary series?
True crime documents. Yeah, I just keep them like Brittany's books, just true crime documents.
Your list of true crimes.
I can learn a lot from true crime.
Oh my gosh, you should do that. You should make a top 10 favorite true crime episodes.
But I bet a lot of people listen to our podcast. They also listen to true crime podcasts.
It's a huge thing. I'm in the minority here that doesn't watch it really. Everyone I know loves it. My mom loves it. I used to, when she would be watching TV in bed or whatever, I'd go in there and play with her and stuff. But she would always be watching something like that and I would be so annoyed. Like, can we change it? So then I would just read a book.
It's a good thing to be into. One thing I was going to say about intuition is that you might not recognize it in yourself, that it's growing as you grow and learn. But what I have noticed is having friends or other people who might need advice or want to talk through something, I think we're more likely to give them, because we care about them, our best advice. Sometimes I watch myself, I'm like, in my gut instinct, like, what would I do in that situation? Or what advice would I give my friend if they need something? What I will say is we're more likely to be more rational when we give advice to them versus take it on our own. In my own situation, would I follow it all the time? Probably not. But for my friend, I'm more likely to be like, hey, this is really what I wish I would have told myself or what I wish I would have done. But I have noticed nowadays, reflecting back, I just feel like I've been better at giving advice with trusting my gut.
Before we move on to the next question, I wanted to give you some information from Google AI about actually there's a couple sources today, guys. We'll do the Google AI first just to give a definition of what a woman's intuition is. Is this plagiarism if I read it straight from Google AI? Like, can they sue me? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Women's intuition refers to a perceived ability often linked to heightened emotional awareness and sensitivity to subtle social cues, allowing for rapid, non-conscious understanding of situations and people, rooted in evolutionary roles as caregivers, enhanced by brain structure. So apparently we have a thicker corpus callosum than men, whatever that means, but I'm going to get that a bumper sticker or something. Yeah. And it's on our merch list officially.
Would you like a corpus?
It sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Corpus callosum. Apparently it's thick on our and reinforced by societal conditioning that encourages empathy and emotional processing. So that was a lot of words. But basically, it's just women are better at this because we have a thicker callosum. And we have a thicker corpus callosum. It was just talking about picking up on social cues. I feel like we are more observant, and that does play a role in just being more aware, having more empathy. It basically was just saying that women's intuition is also more like a time thing. Split second, we can just automatically, let's say your child falls, you can just know when it's going to happen. Have you seen those stories and videos where it's just kind of the mom lifting the car type of thing? It's just like superhuman.
Well, it's a superpower.
We're superpower.
I feel like give me 5 seconds and I'm like, yeah, red flag. Yeah, that man's a red flag.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds to get enough information.
That was the next step, Lauren. You're getting so ahead of me today. No, because I was going to ask about all the different ways that plays a role. What did you just say? You said, sorry. It's dark in here. I don't know. But basically that falls into the safety and immediate danger category. They also said health precautions, women having a feeling that something's wrong health-wise. Preventative action. They talked about this story where this lady woke up randomly one night to take her dogs out. She just decided to, and then there was a clicking behind her and she turned around and her whole house was on fire. Have you heard that story?
No, but I feel like that would happen.
But that's another, I guess, preventative example where it's used.
I've heard stories like that.
Because it seems like a coincidence, but it is interesting. I don't know if that kind of thing happens more commonly with women, but I mean, that's the point it's trying to make. We're heroes. Saving the dogs.
Saving everything.
And she went back in and got her husband. It's fine. It was fine. But
he was still asleep.
Oh, apparently relationship red flags have their own section.
I had a feeling.
Because the safety and danger section is more of just, I think, when you're out on the street and you can kind of tell when some guy's being creepy or something. If you're about to be kidnapped, flashing the lights. And then the relationship red flags are a whole other deal. That's probably going to be the main talking points we had today. And then the only other thing they said was predicting when something's going to happen. Like if someone's going to cancel, that type of thing. It says declining a date. I feel like, it's just we pick up on social cues really easily.
We can read the room, I think, really easily. And I think that's why it's interesting, the field of work I was in, I feel like there wasn't a lot of women, but the women that were in the field, I feel like the women did really well because they were really good at reading the room and figuring out what everyone needed and how to get the deals done and stuff, because we were trusting our guts and everything. And people were always like, how'd you get that done so quickly? Well, I was figuring out how to do this while you're over there arguing about it.
Well, I think we're really good at problem solving in that way. And also, I do wonder, because some of the things I was reading just talking about how women have this quality and that quality, and it's like, damn, why are we not president or something? Like,
I know.
Or a bunch of business women, because I feel like we can be more calm and
100%.
like deal with a bunch of different temperaments and pick up on things, which they talk about being evolutionary. It's not something that's easily come by. You can't just learn how to I mean, you can, but there may be an Intuition for Dummies book.
Helpful it is, though. Because I'm like, you put me in a room for 5 minutes, I'll figure out everything that's going on. And you put a man in a room for 5 minutes and, have you seen those TikToks where it's like, my husband came home today and he said, his coworker is having a baby or something. And you're like, when'd she do? I didn't ask any of that. I didn't get any of that information.
Follow-up question.
Like, okay, so what were you doing during that conversation? I don't know if it's something you can learn as in-depthly, I think, as women already have it.
I think you can practice to be more observant and be more conscious of that. But some of the things that they're referring to is
it
just
comes naturally.
Really natural. Sorry, guys.
About what?
No, the guys, like actual men. Sorry, you have this power.
I was like, what are you apologizing to them for?
Not the shorties, the guys.
The men.
It also said that with the thicker corpus, I'm going to get this right. Corpus callosum. Corpus callosum. It's callosum, not callosum. Sorry.
When did we turn French?
No, it's from Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
It was a joke on the love song. Oh. Okay, you didn't see that movie, did you? But anyways, the thicker callosum may help women integrate emotional right brain and logical left brain processing for faster intuitive leaps. So it helps with that too, guys. Brain differences, that's the category there.
Why is it thumbs downing us?
I think it hates us.
Software, I hate you too.
So it's kind of like a definition, but it's from the Psychology Today article called The Neuroscience of Women's Intuition and the Difference Between Men and Women's Gut Feelings and Instincts. And it says that scientists believe intuition operates through the right side of our brain, the brain's hippocampus, and through our gut, the digestive system. So a woman's corpus callosum, the connective white matter that connects our left and right brain hemispheres, is thicker than a man's, and this gives women better and faster abilities to access each hemisphere, further integrating their emotions and gut feelings with the more logical decision-making functions of the left hemisphere. So we have a connection. So that's cool. And it's just saying that women's brains are optimized for that rapid decision making, basically, and we're more in touch with our emotions, which we already knew that, but science said it.
Well, that's why I was kind of wondering. I do think a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're just making that up. You're just a woman. You're just more emotional, whatever." And it's like, no, science.
Well, we'll get into that gaslighting as well, because then it says also, because men have a thinner corpus callosum, they're more, men are more compartmentalized. You know what? I'm just having an off day, I guess. So because men have a thinner corpus callosum, they are more compartmentalized. I don't know why that's so hard for me today. So they're smaller and more closed off in their thinking and less about to move back and forth from intuition to logic. So they can't make that connection as well. And it says women are also encouraged to be receptive to their inner thoughts and men aren't. So because we're told to, I don't know if we're really encouraged. I don't really agree with that, but I guess men are even less encouraged than us to be in our feels. It says the reality is girls are often praised for being sensitive, while boys are urged to be more linear in their thinking rather than listening to their feelings.
That makes a lot of sense, though. I think one thing a lot of people say are like, oh, you have to remember girls and guys are just so different, built so differently, that sometimes you're just not on the same level or page at all, and you have to come to each other's level to get a better understanding and make your relationship work. But hey, that's science. What science tells us.
It does make sense, though, because they always say, I think, guys think with their heads and women think with their hearts. That's like a typical concept. But it's funny that it is backed by science. It's not just a saying.
Right. It's backed by science.
Although, I will say, I don't think we're really encouraged necessarily to be sensitive, because I feel like even though we have this thicker corpus, whatever, I feel like if we are vocal about some of this stuff, we get gaslit a lot and told that we're too sensitive.
Too emotional. emotional, all the things.
Right.
Yeah.
All the things, which I do have more on that later.
Yeah. Don't think that Brittany telling us this is an excuse, guys, either. I think men can also develop more and learn and be more emotionally connected. So it's not an excuse like, oh yeah, science says I don't have to care. No.
It also just proves, though, I think that the reliance maybe on women and their intuition has been so long. It's gone years and years because we haven't been in the same position as men, for better or for worse. I did want to mention that in Jules' memoir, actually, she shares a story about when she was a kid, how there was, I can't remember what this guy was to her in her life. It was a teacher of some sort. He was an older man and he came over and she always had a weird feeling around him or whatever. And so she would tell her dad that she didn't want to be like around him. And her dad would kind of brush it off and say she was being too sensitive. And then a couple years later, he got arrested, that same teacher, for having child and stuff like that. And then her dad had to apologize to her. And I just thought even kids, though, can tell, especially female children, I think. It's just really, you get a feeling.
I do think all women, kids, girls, no matter their age, have intuition. It's just interesting to watch it when you're younger and then watch it as it grows, as you grow up, because it just keeps growing and growing and becoming stronger. But that story doesn't surprise me because I feel like we hear stories like that all the time with girls, even young girls, having intuition.
I mean, I had that too. Growing up, nothing happened.
Yeah.
But definitely later on, the feelings I had were justified. Unfortunately, that does happen. It happens on both sides. They talk about the female teachers and the male teachers, but there's so many stories about it happening with teachers. They're an authority figure and you have to rely on intuition. It's not like you know they're bad. You just have this feeling.
But I mean, that's why you learn to trust your gut throughout life.
I think too, evolutionary wise, women have always been more of the victims just because we've been in lower positions of power, and also they talk about physical differences as well, and things have changed a lot, but I think that's another reason probably why for women it's developed so much over time, just the protection factor of that. So our brains are always trying to protect ourselves.
They're trying.
And we have super brains.
We have superpower.
Super female brains. One thing I didn't mention where intuition for women plays a role. I feel like it plays a role in motherhood. That's a big one. And then relationships and safety we talked about. I did have something from a YouTube video I watched that I wanted to share. So I found this YouTuber, actually my normal process of just doing some background stuff for this topic. I was trying to look into just stories of women's intuition, but there's just so many. It's overwhelming, honestly, and it gets repetitive actually because it's kind of very similar situations. So I need to pivot. I found this YouTuber who's actually a lawyer. Her name is Tanya Love Lawyer. She does family law. I watched 2 of her videos and I thought they were both really cool. So I would just touch on them a bit because she said some really good zingers. The first video I watched is the one that's more recent, but it was called Women's Intuition Isn't Overreacting, the Reddit Story You Need to Hear. So she goes over this Reddit post that was a big deal. She's commentating on this story and we're commentating on her commentary on the story. And then the next person just tag us. It's like the sisterhood of the traveling story. Yeah, commentary. It's kind of cool because we're all lawyers. Well, I'm assuming not the first person, but you never know. That'd be funny though. But one of the things she mentions before she gets into the Reddit post, she talks about how women are taught to question their intuition.
Yeah.
When I mentioned the gaslighting, that's what I meant. Is it's like we have this intuition, but then when we speak on it, we're told that we're sensitive or overreacting very often. It's
almost all the time.
That's what I was saying with me. I feel like my confidence level isn't great because I think I've been in a lot of situations where when it finally has come into play at home or in a relationship, I do tend to second guess because of responses that I get back. I think it is a universal feeling that women...
I know women can relate to that though.
And I think that's why we're getting so frustrated because it seems to be happening so often. Or maybe we're just all talking about this shared experience more. I think everyone's fed up about it.
I think so too.
So yeah, but I'll tell you the Reddit story that she shared.
I'm ready.
So basically the person that made the Reddit post was wanting advice on this guy that she had met on Hinge. She had only been dating him for 2 months, but she was concerned whether or not he is dangerous. So she was asking for advice on Reddit.
Like actually dangerous?
Yeah. So you'll see when I tell you. Okay. So basically she had met him on Hinge. When she asked this question, it was 2 months in. And she said he's been really kind and a gentleman. She said he's from a different country, so there are some language barriers, but she says it didn't really affect. I was like, did Lauren write this? No, I'm just kidding. But she said it wasn't a problem. He speaks English.
Yeah, I understand 50% of what you're saying, 50-50.
But she did want to point that out because, again, it's kind of one of those things where it's like we're made to second guess ourselves. So they're like, so you always think of things like, is this what it is? Am I misunderstanding this? Because we always want to make excuses for things because we don't want to believe that things are maybe dangerous or bad.
Or what they are.
We like someone and they've been really great.
You're trying to trust your heart, but you're seeing red flags.
Because I think a lot of things that women experience, especially in dating nowadays, is that men will really start off strong.
Oh, strong.
And then that goes into the love bombing. We talked about this before. Where I think a lot of people have their guard up on the love bombing now too. So even if a guy is actually trying to be romantic, it's hard for us to trust that because what game are you playing?
Oh, that's my first question. What game is this now? How did we get here?
Her situation was the guy, he was a real gentleman. Really in general, I guess he insisted on paying for all of her dates. She said that he drove an hour to pick her up and her friend up to drop them off for a trip, an hour there and back or something like that, and gave her like $100 cash thing for her birthday and always brings food and blah, blah. And when I'm hearing about this on the YouTube video, my red flags are already going off just because for 2 months in, I feel like that is a lot for a guy to put that much effort in. And for me, I don't trust that, which it's because you hear about these stories of men being like that and it's like too good to be true. And my anxiety could never. Those weren't red flags to her. She just was like, he's really great.
Well, I think women want to be treated well and we want to be treated like...
Well, you want that.
You want it to be real. You want that to be real. You want that to happen to you. At the end of the day, we did grow up on Disney and on wanting to be like someone's love interest and the Notebook and all those things. Like, you want that. With this day and age, I just feel like the too good to be true thing is...
It's just more common than not. But when she started to notice red flags, she listed 2. So...
Oh, God.
She even said, actually, admittedly, I do watch a lot of true crime. So like, she was also using that kind of like trying to talk herself out of feeling the red flags. She's like, maybe I just watch too much true crime and that's why I'm paranoid or whatever. So the first red flag was they were laying in bed after some fun, is how she put it. And he like lifted her arm up and said he wanted to cut off her muscle and fry it and eat it up, her arm muscle or something. And she was really put off by that. She was like, why would you say that? And he was like, it's just a joke, and laughed it off. Just to pause, I probably would take that as a joke. Because like, what the fuck? But I also don't watch true crime. So what do you think? Well, just because I've heard people say similar things and mean it really innocently, like, oh, I could just eat you up. It's usually about a kid. So that's also not
it's very good, specific, taking your arm muscle out and eating it.
And frying it. I don't know.
Like, too specific.
I think it's a little early to be saying that for sure.
Well, I do think in the true crime instinct, that's usually a flag of, okay, that's a little odd behavior. What I will say is that I do think in other countries, they say things and the interpretation of them, because you said he was foreign, right? The interpretation of them, of what they're trying to say or what they sometimes can be like
things can be lost
in translation. I'm not saying this instance. I'm just saying I've heard people say, no, I'm trying to say, oh, in my country, if I ever cheated on someone, my parents would cut my arm off. It's like they say things and you're like, what?
That's something that I've learned when learning Korean. Every country and language has different phrases that they use. It's not really meant to be taken literally with what he said. That's something that's hard to read on paper because there may be an external factor there.
That's what I was kind of thinking though.
Feeling creeped out.
Creeped out for more than one reason probably. You're just not seeing it in that moment because you like him, but you're probably feeling not just because he said that.
I think there's a vibe. There's certain people that can say that to me and like just in general and I wouldn't think anything of it. But then if it's somebody else that I already have like kind of a weird feeling about and they say it, then I might think about that for hours.
I'm calling Brittany and I'm like, Brittany, does this sound weird?
I'm not giving advice to this girl, but in my head, that's what I thought about it. But I can see how you can talk yourself out of that red flag because it's one of those ambiguous types. It shouldn't sound ambiguous because it's like, I'm going to eat your
fucking arm.
But this next one,
I need to hear the second red
number
flag.
2 is for sure.
Okay.
No. So she said that later on she had been working late and he had said that he wanted to come over after she got off work, and she told him that he could come over, but she was really tired, so she may fall asleep. And apparently he texted her and said that she could either leave her key or a passcode for him to get in. And then he said that he can't promise he won't make advances on her while she is sleeping. To me, that's lost in translation or not. No.
Yeah.
But then again, she didn't know if maybe because of the language barrier, like his way of flirting was just really weird. I think it's like he crossed the line when he legitimately said, while you're sleeping, I might do something to you. Yeah. And I don't think she ended up letting him come over either because of that, which I wouldn't either. Somebody new too. That just gives me the creeps.
That's definitely a red flag.
That's when I feel like, okay, that could be dangerous also, you know.
It could be dangerous. And you have to trust your gut.
I mean, to him, it may still be a joke or whatever.
I mean, yeah, sure. He might have a dark sense of humor, I guess. But I think as women in this day and age, I don't know. You can't say stuff like that. We don't know you and expect our reaction to be like, yeah, sure, come over.
So the lawyer, I call her the lawyer, but she's doing YouTube too in this capacity. But she said she talked about this Reddit post because she's seen things like this happen in her practice, but she can't talk about it because of confidentiality. But she was like, I've seen this stuff play out before. And so she was saying that women often ignore danger red flags because they're second guessing themselves. She referred to the guy doing all these things where he's buying the dinner or whatever. She referred to that as performative acts.
I've heard that before.
Have you heard of that?
Guys are always doing performative acts when they want to get you.
Well, it's interesting. I was thinking about this because we want actions louder than words, but then sometimes
they're performative.
The performative, even if you're doing the actions, it's hard to trust it that it's not an ulterior motive behind it.
My therapist has always said you want consistent actions,
right?
Not just performative action. When you're being with someone, you can see if it's real or not.
It reminds me of that movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez. Basically, quick summary, it's a movie where she's a waitress. I don't want to say she's not special or anything, but she's just doing like a regular job. And this man who is a big whatever he is, I actually don't know what he does for work, but he's clearly a hotshot, basically. He starts hitting on her at this diner and eventually woos her into marrying him. And the movie is kind of all about that, how he seems so great and he's like changing her life. And then when they get married and she moves in, he starts like hitting her and stuff. So it's about her leaving that abusive relationship. It kind of fits into this theme where I don't think she had the gut feeling that something was wrong. Maybe other people kind of saw it, but she didn't realize until it was too late.
Have you seen those trends on TikTok and Reddit and stuff? It's like, who the fuck did I marry?
I haven't seen the trends, but I think about that a lot. I mean, I'm not married. I think about like that just because I feel like I've watched a lot of the Ted Bundy stuff and you can be dating someone. What was that one documentary a long time ago? It was on Netflix. It was about this husband who had called the police saying that his wife and children were missing, but he was the one who actually read it. I'm sure there's like many situations like that, especially if you watch a lot of true crime.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations like that.
But it was like a specific thing on Netflix that I watched.
Even though you don't like true crime or anything?
I don't search it out. I think Tony wanted to watch it, so I watched it with. It's scary.
You gotta be prepared.
I'm already paranoid enough, guys. I wouldn't even do the podcast anymore. If I really got deep into true crime, I'd be like, I need to go off grid immediately. As if someone's really going to care.
Come get us.
So she was talking about the performative acts, and then one of the zingers that I really liked, and this is a direct quote, red flags are not meant to be balanced out with green flags.
I've heard that quote before.
Oh, really?
Well, I just think it's one of those quotes authors have used and stuff like that.
I just had never heard it phrased that way.
Yeah.
But it makes a lot of sense. It fits into that theme of the performative acts that he did don't balance out the red flags that you're seeing. I think a lot of us do tend to, when things are going really good and then one thing pops up and you're kind of like, could be a problem, but you're trying to justify, well, there's all these other good things though. But it is hard because I do that. I definitely do that.
I think everyone does.
Because I mean, I think everyone like wants something to work out. So it's like when you're putting the time and effort in and everything. And also the concept of no one's perfect. So it's like you kind of have to have that consideration as well.
Well, I think there's different types of red flags, different types of green flags. Different levels.
Yeah. Saying you're going to do something to me in my sleep is like a red.
I feel like there should be dark red, light red, medium red.
You know what? Maybe we should create that. Whatever you like, red flags.
They'll come in different shades. They'll be really cute. Same with green flags though too. Some things are big green flags. Some things are bare minimum, but it's a green flag that they're doing it. They talk a lot about women look for, we need one green flag to balance out one red flag. And then, it's okay now.
She was saying it's not a pros and cons list. It was very clear that her stance is that you should be more hardcore about it, basically. You should definitely not keep making excuses, or it's better to cut someone off, which ultimately I do agree with that mindset, but I do also understand the nuance there because because it isn't easy. She also made a statement, there are no jokes. So how the guy said he was just joking. But when she said that, I was like, I do feel like that's used a lot against us.
It is.
If we get mad about something, it's always like, I was just joking.
Yeah, you're too serious.
Yeah, I hear that refrain all the time.
All the time.
Not even just from romantic partners, like any man.
Well, that's
Really.
I've heard it at work. I've heard it from men, just men in general.
I wonder if they have, as I'm reading this stuff, is there some type of conspiracy? This is how deep it gets in my head, and because it's so blatant and so common.
It is.
But then we're somehow still made to seem like we're crazy.
Or the
when we
crazy
talk
ones.
about
It is a conspiracy. It's pretty deep, I think.
But she was saying that jokes, when they say that thing, it's the mask slipping. The first sign of the mask slipping is
I could see that.
they like test the waters to
see how you react.
and see what they can get away with. It's sad because I hate to feel like it's really that in depth that anyone would be so manipulative about it. I think she is mostly just talking about real men.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would call them narcissists, but really
Yeah.
fucked up men
Men.
that would do stuff like that. But I do think regardless of if you're like that or not, that is something that men say often. Oh, I'm just joking. Just because
Yeah.
they don't want to take accountability for
That's an easy response for them.
the consequences of their statements.
Could you imagine if we just started using that though? That's wild.
I tried and I get yelled at.
Yeah, not met with the same type of reaction that we're expected to meet their response with.
Exactly. Another double standard. I feel like she had said that some men will drop the act when they feel they're like fully entrenched in the relationship. So a lot of times that does mean once they get married to the person, once they have a kid with the person, or even just moving in.
Yep.
I thought that was a good point too.
It's interesting though, because I was just thinking back. And I do feel like one thing is that a lot of red flags that you start to see at the beginning, small ones, you're kind of like, maybe I can get past that and stuff. Usually they follow you throughout the entire relationship. And then it goes from like a light red to a dark red really quick when they do take the mask off or whatever you want to call it. It's interesting to see the progression of that throughout the relationship. But I do feel like everyone who I talk to are like, yeah, well, when did you start seeing these red flags? Oh, like towards the beginning.
Yeah,
and they're
'cause
like breaking up now, years later.
You can always go back and put together the pieces. She actually said, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but she had said that those type of joke or off-color comments are actually what speak more to the person's character, like their performative acts or anything else.
Anyone can say the right thing at the right time or do the right action for a small amount of time. I'm looking like for the deeper things when I'm investigating something. I'm like, okay, let me see who you really are.
It reminds me of when I was watching Married at First Sight, and one of the couples on there, it was an older couple, but could tell that the woman was very turned off when she saw how the man was treating the production, because he had a couple issues with production. And I think that even though that's not necessarily like words he said, but it does speak to your character, how you handle a situation, and it can be like, this is how he's going to be in these situations.
You gotta look for the real life stuff when you're searching. You can go to a nice dinner. If you're gonna try to do life with this person, you gotta look for the real life stuff, the side comments, how they treat other people, what they do outside of the performative actions.
But I think as women, when we see that stuff, especially if it's something that we know how to handle, I think we tend to see if we can help fix that.
And then we are a bunch of fixers. We
think
love a
that's
good project.
Why those types of flags are ignored too. I always like to think positively. Oh, maybe they can change that. That's a maturity thing or whatever. It can be worked on.
Then I think you get caught in the battle between you can't raise a man, but we have the instinct to care about people and the motherhood instinct and to want everyone to do better, be better, nurturing. And so you're like, hey, that's something small like we can work on together. But then you have to catch yourself because there's a fine line between that and having to raise a man.
Even though I wish I could be more like Tanya and just hardcore about it, I think I'm too much of a softie. It's not that I'm afraid of being alone or anything like that, because I'm confident enough I'll be happy regardless. But it is funny because seeing this kind of advice, it just makes me think about all the gray areas there are too.
There's black, white, and gray areas, you know, in all relationships, friendships,
red,
you know.
all kinds of red too, apparently.
Lots of red, not enough green, but lots of red.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wearing green today.
Green flag.
There we go.
It is funny though, going back to a past episode really quickly, when we talked about, oh, there is a line, we won't go to strip clubs with you or whatever.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot of comments, and so now women have started asking guys, so have you been to a strip club? And it's funny because
My
like
first question on date one. No, I'm just kidding.
they'll be like people that they'd never even thought to ask. No, I've never been to one. A green flag.
You have a relationship with a stripper.
I've had people reach out specifically and be like, don't worry, I've never been to a strip club. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, if I believe you all.
I don't believe all of them either.
Also, is it just the lack of it being around or
available for you?
That's another thing, though, just speaking of strip clubs, it's technically quote unquote normal for men to go. It's like boys will be boys type of thing.
I hate that.
I think a lot of women are just like, well, you're not going when we're together, but I can't change your past. We don't have that. We don't have a thing where we're going to strip clubs. I don't think. Do we?
I don't
Do
think
women have
so.
something like that? Let us know in the comments.
But it's always just interesting to me that that's so normalized and acceptable, but we don't have anything like that.
Well, because we're the ones being objectified. We're the strippers. I mean, I don't think it's like a thing for men to go see male strippers or micro madams,
Yeah.
But hey, we have Magic Mike now.
Well, I think because people feel bad for women. They're like, well, they get nothing in this life, so let's give them something. I think it's more of one of those things where it's like an interesting character question to see how that conversation goes.
I think also just in general with red flags, it can be kind of a gray area sometimes. I think you just have to set your own line for yourself. I feel like everybody can know their breaking point. But like you said before, the repeated patterns are what really matters, and those will really tell you, I think.
We've talked about that before, but I do think it's important to know your flag boundaries. I feel like now we're in a sports podcast. Like, all right,
there's a flag on the player.
That's what we should do.
Flag on the player. That should be part of our merch. One of the other things she mentioned, just like going back to trusting your gut, one-liners I really liked was trust your gut and don't wait around for them to prove you right. I really liked that because we're always trying to make excuses for other people.
Yeah, I've done that one too many times.
Bad Lauren. No, I'm just kidding. We all do it. I did want to go into our philosophical question. I have another video from Tanya that we'll talk about. So, should women have a responsibility to listen to their intuition? I'll go into the video. It was called Why I Tell Women to Choose Better, and it's not victim blaming. So, apparently there's this debate because she says that sometimes when she makes these videos that people will say, oh, well, you're victim blaming. You're saying that the reason that these women are in crappy relationships, that it's their fault. So she was going over this article that kind of was on that point, and then she argued against it very lawyerly. But the article was called It Doesn't Matter That She Should Have Picked Better, It Matters That He Abused Her. The question was if women should have a responsibility to follow their intuition. So I think what I'm trying to ask is, since we do have this kind of special power supposedly, or this instinct, should we be obligated to work with it rather than put ourselves in situations with men that are crappy? When women that go out and they end up getting assaulted or whatever, that they shouldn't have been wearing like a skirt. It's that type of concept, I think, whenever you talk about victim blaming. Now, that's not what it's an old-fashioned way of thinking. You shouldn't wear that top, men are going to come after you. This is stuff that women deal with, guys. I literally mean men. You probably don't know what we're talking about. Has anybody ever said something about what you're wearing?
All the time.
Have to be careful.
But as women, I don't know a single woman who's never gone through that. I think we've all gone through that.
But I wear a lot of sweatpants. So
I think that's just what a lot of women go through.
And it's so unfair.
Very opinionated on this specific topic, but I don't think it necessarily relates to the topic that we're talking on the YouTube thing.
Now, I'm not saying I 100% agree with her, but I got where she was coming from. Her main thing is that she wants women to be more educated and more aware of red flags, how to watch out for them, because her biggest point on this was the fact that if something happens to a woman, if she's in a bad relationship, once it happens, you should never blame the victim. It's the man who did it. But she was like, but ultimately, all that is going to do is comfort the person to know it's not their fault. But she said that's why she thinks it's important for us to pay attention to our intuition and looking out for those red flags, because at the end of the day, the consequences are what they are for the woman. Either way, if you go through that, your life is going to be affected. And especially if you have children, she said it like perpetuates that cycle of abuse, to just kind of rely on the fact that like, oh, if he abuses me, then that's on him. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
Well, I also think that you never want to be in a situation like that again. Important to learn in any situation that's not good for you. I can see both sides. I think you want to be supportive in those situations, but also, I know this is like a touchy subject. I do think in this specific kind of situation, it's like a little bit of accountability into the fact of, yeah, you probably had gut feelings, you probably had red flags that you ignored, but it's more of the fact like it shouldn't have happened to you. That's definitely all on him. You didn't do anything, but for the next time, to make sure you're safe, you're educating and learning that you know what to look for, and so you don't end up in a situation like that again.
Because I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, teaching women how to protect themselves better. Another point that she made was that this unfortunately is the reality we live in. I think that the comment from the other side is that, okay, well, men just need to do better, or they need to do this and that. And her point is that we can't force men to do anything. So you have to go with what I guess society currently is. And she even said that actually right now we're in a better position than we were in the past, as we have the right to vote and work for ourselves and everything. So we can make that decision to just be alone at the end of the day. Obviously, that's not ideal for most people, but that is something
that you can make that decision.
And it made me think of, how they talk about like the male loneliness epidemic. It's so funny that that's like a thing right now, because I feel like that is a direct result of men not listening. We're just in a movement where the women are just doing it themselves, basically. So it's like we're still the ones taking the action and just choosing to be alone. That's us doing that. We're still doing all the work, it feels like.
We are doing
We've just learned how to be more comfortable with friends, like raising their kids together, like girlfriends, because it's a more habitable environment and just really better for their
safer environment for them
and mental health wise.
But that's the thing, I don't need a man to come do anything for me. I can handle it myself. And I think it's women being more self-sufficient. But that's what I do think, her point of we can't change whatever the hell men are doing out there, but we can just keep moving forward as women and figuring it the fuck out for ourselves and reflecting and moving forward with it. I do think it sucks because some responsibility should fall on the men. Do better. I just know it's not like we can force them to do better. But this whole male loneliness shit that's going on, well, you put yourself in that position.
That's usually what the comments say, and nobody feels bad for them. But it is like one of those things, what will it take?
I don't know.
Because it seems like now this is happening and they're complaining, but they're still not doing anything. Now, I'm not saying all men, of course, but it just seems like that's the consensus. It's like we're still being blamed for
causing a loneliness epidemic.
How dare like we're human. How dare us try to be happy?
God forbid.
I just wanted to bring that up just because I thought that was like a really philosophical thing to think about. Let's say it is just still the male loneliness epidemic for however many years. It's like, well, is this just how it's going to be now, or what will cause a change there? Or will we just kind of be forced back into not having rights? We'll see.
It's like 50-50.
Because I could totally see that. I could see everyone just revolting over this. There's been a lot of regression lately. It does concern me a bit. So to keep up these days.
A takeaway is we've reached a point in the world and in life that you should learn and you should figure things out and protect yourself and make sure you understand these things, because unfortunately you can't change the world and how it is. But I do think the responsibility of, I don't want to say what's going on with the men, that's not on us.
I mean, it's just sad. I mean, it's sad for us too. We want to have fun with y'all. You're just making it really tough.
You're making it really fucking hard, man.
Yeah, that was kind of the main argument, because one of the analogies that she used too is that you can't walk into a shark tank and not expect to be eaten by a shark type of thing. Now, I do think that when you talk about the clothes thing, that's really extreme. Honestly, in my opinion, you should be able to walk naked down the street and not be assaulted.
And the man should go to jail if he does anything. I don't like shit like that, to be honest, because it's interesting, because the amount of times that throughout life I've second guessed or thought about what I was going to wear.
I've had to learn since we were kids, honestly, especially I've had old fashioned grandparents, and that was something that, even though naturally I was very modest anyways, but it was definitely always talked about. Even just like the media we consumed growing up, it's like, oh, like Britney Spears isn't wearing enough. It's kind of ingrained if you're a girl, especially, because it really only applied to girls. I think actually Britney Spears talked about this in her memoirs. The guys in NSYNC, they weren't criticized for what they wore.
They weren't, though. One time when I was in college, I was at a bar and it was just a regular dress I had on. It was short, but not short or anything. And then one guy was like being way too much, like back off. And he's like, what did you expect coming out dressed like that? Like, you're acting mad. The expectation is you'd want this.
I do think that's an argument that a lot of guys make.
I'm sorry, that's a wild argument to make.
There is a really respectful way you can tell someone that they look nice. If somebody's taking it to a different level to where it's like you feel like you're having to be concerned of your safety, that's not okay. Just like in general, don't touch me. The only other thing I was going to talk about, I struggle with trusting my intuition versus is this just anxiety. So a lot of people were talking about that on Reddit actually as well. How do I know if this is just anxiety or if this is actually my intuition? Because if you struggle with anxiety a lot, which I do, it's my whole personality. Basically, that's why I lack confidence in my intuition, which technically I'm an INFJ, which you are too. Actually, the N I think stands for like intuition. So we definitely have it. I mean, not just because of the quiz. I think we just have it, but I think I just overthink a lot of it. Also try to see the best in people or
I do the
situations.
same though. I think it's common though. You want to see the best in situations.
Just some advice that they were giving people on Reddit, just commenters, that they were just saying one thing they do is they just try to either journal about it or talk to someone else just to figure out if it is anxiety. And what commenter said for her, whenever it's more of just a feeling that she can't put a finger on, that for her that's more intuition. And then when it's partnered with a lot of thoughts, then that's more anxiety. So that's how she differentiates between the two. But I feel like I think a lot no matter what. So my mind's always racing. The other day, I was actually driving around with Tony and I kind of had a blank space head and I mentioned it. I feel like really relaxed. I don't have any thoughts really. And he was like, yeah, that's good. It's good to not have thoughts. Only a man.
That is the most male comment. I never have thoughts. I'm surprised you even have thoughts ever.
I mean, I get it. It's good to clear your head, but...
You know, when there's certain comments, you're like, did this come from a man or a woman? If you just said just that comment, you'd be like, man, that's fucking hilarious. Yes, Anthony, I agree. It's good to not have thoughts. In about 7 years from now, I'll get a text message. It'll be like, why'd you say that on this podcast?
Yeah. He actually doesn't exist. It's fine.
Yeah, because Brittany and I don't actually live together, guys, even though y'all think so. I think some people are very good about trusting their gut and just freaking doing it. And then some people, you gotta really think about it. Well, I guess we are lawyers, so I don't know what
but also we're programmed to second guess ourselves because we've been told so many times when we do share these thoughts that we're crazy.
That we're crazy and emotional.
Or overreacting.
Yeah, I do think it's always good to do like a gut check with a friend or a trusted family member or whoever and just look about something if it really is bothering you. Because to be honest, sometimes when you say it out loud and you say it to someone and then you're like, oh, I actually don't need your opinion. Sometimes I talk to Brittany and she's like looking at me and I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know?
That was all I had for the points on the discussion. Okay. So if you're ready, I have to go to segment 2.
Let's do it.
Our little mini segment is what I'm calling it today because there's 2 little minis. We already kind of talked about the intuition launch. The contract with Jules started. Shaving Made Simple was the campaign name. I think we already talked about like why it was a new thing. I guess it was like 5-blade pivoting head techniques. So this is the reason why I wanted to bring this up because I wanted your opinion on men's razors versus women's razors. So they talk about how this is better for women because women have to shave more areas like bikini lines and stuff. And well, we don't have to, but we're expected to. But I wanted your opinion on this because I don't know if this is like embarrassing to admit, but I feel like I haven't used a woman's razor in a really long time.
I use men's razors.
Me too.
I think that's really common actually.
Because, and I remember using this razor
I remember using
back
this razor
in the day.
too.
And guys, it wasn't that great.
No, it was horrible.
Honestly, this brand, like no offense, but it wasn't that great in general. And I feel like I cut myself a lot and it would go bad quicker.
It would go bad so quick.
Because they have that moisturizing gel. There was a little mini article about the differences between men's and women's razors, which it did get more technical, so I probably won't share that part. But one of the things it mentioned that I think is important is just how much more expensive women's razors are.
Yes.
And their thought process for that pricing is because supposedly women's razors have better features where they can do the swivel and all that.
And they're colorful and cute looking.
Moisturizer stuff. But they don't work very well.
They don't. I've used men's razors for years now.
Me too. Because I started to get, what is it called?
The razor burn?
Yeah, the razor bumps.
Me too.
Yeah, because this is something I read too. And I think this is a reason why women use the men's razors because men's razors are more meant for thick hair. So like the women's razors, like, yeah, it's probably good if you have really fine hair, but not all of us do. But honestly, I feel like it has to be really fine. It's just like the blades are not as good.
The blades are not sharp.
Even if they're 5, they're like dull.
No, they go dull after 1/2 of a use. You gotta throw it away.
So it's just even more money.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see how you felt because I haven't talked about this in a long time with anyone.
I remember when I was researching this because I was like, this cannot just be me, right?
Yeah.
Like I was going through so many, I tried every brand. I went through so many women's razors and it wasn't working. I'll never forget something popped up and it was one girl saying, no, I switched to men's razors. And it dawned on me. I was like, oh, well, why can't I use a man's razor? Because they're formulated, quote unquote, better for like thick hair and they're sharper, they're manly. And I've never gone back.
Me either. It's funny because the intuition commercial that we watched, it was talking about how you can just do one line.
Yeah, one swipe.
And it's like without shaving cream with the intuition. That's a lie. Sure, the statute of limitations is passed. That is like not good marketing. It's not sharp enough to get it in one, and you definitely need shaving cream.
Yeah,
but also it sucks because I do remember using shaving cream with those types of razors. and that wasn't great either.
There was one big
It would
mess.
get all like clumped. The cream would like stick in there. Do you like
I
did that happen to you?
remember,
Even then sometimes it would just get clogged up, and then at that point it's not even useful as a razor, and I feel like I always nicked myself a lot.
Yeah.
It would get hot on my skin.
I think they still sell these.
They do.
Because I was going to say, I think I saw it recently somewhere. And it's kind of crazy because they're like, oh, it's formulated, it's better now, and all these things. I'm like, yeah, okay. And so don't ever sponsor us because we don't take sponsors from things we don't like.
I think it's purely for teenagers. I feel like you don't know until you're older, because when you're a teenage girl and you're starting to shave for the first time, your legs and everything, you want the cute razors.
You want the cute, convenient razor you can use every day.
You want it to say Venus.
Now I'm like, so where's that simple black razor?
I use the like Gillette.
I use the Gillette too.
5 blade, yeah.
But it is interesting because I do think when we're younger, it's like we're trying to learn all these things. But the whole marketing to women and the pink tax that they talk about and everything, I do think it's just different. And as women, we have to navigate this ourselves.
Can you explain the pink tax for people that may not know it? I know what you're referring to because I know women are taxed for things that men aren't. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I've heard before that women get taxed for things like pads and tampons, and men don't get taxed for like Viagra, which is like nuts because we need pads and tampons.
Well, it's like all the things you could think of that men, something like that, for example, there's no taxes on it. It's interesting because all the products that we need, we get taxed higher on those products. And those products are more expensive even in stores. Because don't you think that like even women's razors are more expensive?
They are. That's the man trying to bring us down.
But that's why there's been this huge debate about tampons and stuff, is because it's like, well, okay, I'm sorry, we need them, but you want us to pay arm and leg and pay taxes on them. Make that make sense. So I think there's been this big debate because people have been talking about bringing back free tampons in the bathrooms and stuff because they just don't think it's fair.
Well, especially because there's no more quarters. There's no more coins, really.
Yeah, I'll never forget that intuition razor.
That's really all for that mini segment that I had. The other mini segment, since we're talking about a Jewel song today, and because I read the book recently, actually, Lauren, this is the time where I can showcase my book.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, guys, we have a YouTube. We're like here.
Like we're real people. If you want to see us, real.
If you do listen on Spotify or something, if you just want to come back later,
watch the whole thing for a second time, and you can watch our beautiful faces while we talk about razors. Bought a fucking razor, an intuition razor. For the
but it's too expensive. Not spending my money on something I can't use.
How about you send us some free fucking razors?
No, actually, you know what? Who's going to end up sponsoring us is the Gillette
Men. Hey, Gillette men's razors, if you want to sponsor us, we're down.
We're definitely down.
I feel like that fits in.
It does. See, we're not a man-hating podcast.
The Purge, Gillette Men. I feel like we're doing good.
It's the green and red balancing out each other.
We're not man-hating. We like your razors. Put your book up. Let's everyone see Brittany's book on YouTube.
This is my book. This is her memoir, and she has pictures, and I highlighted it, and I lived in it, and I love it.
What did you rate the book?
So I actually rated it 4 out of 5 because, and here's why, I actually wrote this down. So the positives, she has a really interesting life story. Just in general, if you grew up in Alaska, I probably want to read about it for one, because I feel like Alaska is just one of those places that's just wow.
The Alaskan bush people.
The final frontier.
Yeah.
Wait, no, that's space. No, it's the last frontier.
The last.
And then I think the final frontier is supposed to be space. Okay. Sorry for that mix up there.
Don't know those things. We went to law school.
That's really important for me to make sure I get that right. But her family dynamics were really interesting. I'll go into that a little bit in a minute. And she also is a really great writer. So those were the reasons that I gave it like a full. I really liked it, actually. The only reason I didn't give it a full 5 is because it's kind of a memoir / self-help book. Okay. So she could get, in my opinion, a little bit preachy at times. Not preachy in the way like you have to do this necessarily, but it got like really repetitive and long-winded. And I just kept feeling at a certain point, I want to get back to just the facts. Plus, I've read a lot of self-help books. So for me, it's really repetitive in that way. That was the only reason that it wasn't a full 5-star for me. But I do recommend it. It's very interesting, especially since we did this episode and talked about everything. I do recommend it. It's called Never Broken. So it's a theme. It goes pretty chronologically. So I think too, as like a woman, it's always fun to read female memoir. She is a unique person because she was never at the level, I think, in terms of like stardom that a lot of pop artists were, because she wasn't out there like that. She developed a fan base throughout time, and she has a really hardcore fan base, but it's not necessarily a commercial. I think this Intuition song was the most commercial she ever. Just a couple of things like highlights that I wanted to mention. I think lived with her dad and her 2 brothers because her mom and dad got divorced, but her mom left. She just talks a lot about her complicated relationship with her parents, but especially with her mom, which I thought was interesting because you don't hear about that a lot. And she said that she hasn't talked to her mom or seen her since 2003 because I guess the only main involvement that her mom ended up having in her life was to be the manager when she did start getting famous. And then she basically spent all her money and everything. Then she had to fire her mom as her manager.
Wow.
And she was like, I didn't know that that would mean I would be losing my mom too.
Yeah.
So like, it's really sad, honestly. But I thought it was like really brave to share that, but also just a unique situation.
sure.
That's one of those things where it's really hard to trust your intuition there because
Yeah.
that's your parent.
Which I know we didn't really touch on this, but really hard when it's someone close to you.
Yeah.
Someone that's a close friend or a family member, things like that. That's a lot harder.
That's why I say like following your heart is kind of hard, even not in the romantic side, but in the family side or whatever. Anyways, she had not a great relationship with her dad either, but eventually they have worked it out and they're close now.
Okay.
So that she was married to a professional bull rider.
The fucking dead.
I guess they just recently got divorced, but they did have a kid together. She talks a lot about her motherhood too and how like different she feels towards her son compared to how she felt with her relationship with her mom, basically. I think that changed motherhood for her for having her own kid and you know what
You
her
hear that
concept.
a lot though with once you have your own family. I think also your intuition changes a lot too.
I think it's really hopeful though, because if you do have that situation, it doesn't mean it's going to be the same for you and your kid though.
Oh, well, from the lore of people wondering why we laughed about bull riding, the inside joke is that we were going to go bull riding for Brittany's birthday.
Yeah.
Get enough likes on this YouTube video, maybe we'll, go bull riding, guys.
Well, because Lauren decided to keep everything secret from me for the whole week. And then I had no idea what we were doing. And then she got Tony in on the joke about the bull riding. So then I was like really kind of scared because I'm not good at faking things I don't like.
Yeah, we know. So that's what made it even funnier. So didn't go bull riding, but one day,
but that's the
you
joke.
know,
Shorties are in on the joke
joke
now.
now.
Back to the memoir summary. Another thing that was really cool. This is like completely off topic of the whole memoir, but I just wanted to say it because I watched that Fitty Diddy doc recently. So Jewel was talking about how she was at an award thing. I don't know, it might have been the Grammys, but she ran into Tupac and he basically was hitting on her and wanted her to come with him to California or wherever he was going. And she declined. And that was the night he got shot and killed.
That's wild.
Weekend
Yeah.
or something. But he had invited her because he was trying to like
Hook up with crazy.
yeah. But isn't that wild? I was like, what are the chances of that?
Stuff like that happens though. That's crazy.
It's really sad. I just wanted to point that out because I was like kind of mind blown by that. And it's like when two paths cross that you don't really
you
ever
expect them to cross,
anticipate because
yeah.
he's in the rap genre and she's doing the more folky stuff. That was really like some of the, there's a lot in there, honestly, but those were just some of the takeaways that I wanted to share that I thought were interesting.
I would recommend the book.
I would, yeah. Especially if you like beautiful writing, because she does share a lot of her poetry in there as well. So that's the end of that segment.
I like memoirs though.
I do too.
Maybe I just need to have a month where I just read memoirs, but there's so many I want to read.
A lot of people say they feel guilty when they rate memoirs because it's like that person's life story. But I will say that I've read enough throughout because it's like a genre that I read a lot of. And I feel like now I can feel better about rating something with that because there is an art to doing a memoir.
Have you ever counted how many books you have?
Oh, yeah. I have an inventory.
How many do you have?
Well, I still need to update it for the past like couple months, but I have 1,500
Damn.
something books.
That's insane.
It's considered a library. So, last segment. We do have maybe potentially a game, but also I just wanted to do a little check-in with Lauren first.
Our friendship check-in.
Friendship check-in.
I feel like we need like a song.
We do need to make a jingle.
I think it'd be cute.
But so, how's your intuition doing lately, Lauren?
My intuition's a vibe.
Is it thriving?
Should we name our intuitions?
We
No.
should.
'Cause we named our
We named our no. We
What is
named
it?
our bad inner
There we go.
voice. Yeah.
Thank you.
So Agatha and Bertha.
Yeah.
What should our intuition names be?
Oh, something good.
Jewel. That's easy to remember. Okay, I'll be Jewel. You be Tanya.
I feel like Tanya's a vibe.
Yeah, Tanya is a vibe.
How's my intuition doing? What do you mean in general?
Yeah, I just wanted to check in on your
Yeah, just to check in
intuition.
on my intuition.
Yeah.
Some days it's good, some days it's unhinged, some days it's bad, some days. But being in our 30s, I do feel a lot more comfortable with my intuition now than before. So
I mean,
a
it's
good
keeping
thing.
you alive so far.
Most days.
Well, I am too, but like I'm trying to help you. But you can help me too when my intuition's not functioning
Yeah,
if
you're
I
not
ever leave my
putting
house.
yourself in-
I think to me, just stepping out the door is dangerous, but it's all relative, really. So Lauren talks to strangers and goes to their house, and
I'm just kidding. I honestly do think we both have really good heads on our shoulders and really good intuitions, which is like a good thing. And I think why when you meet friends, it's like your intuitions connect too.
I think with female friendships, it is also women's intuition can tell when something's wrong or something's not feeling right.
And I think that's a good thing about like female friendships though.
Which sometimes I do overthink though. The game that we maybe play, something fun to talk about is that trend on TikTok where they have those videos of when women ignore red flags and they try to justify it. What's one example that you can think of?
Even told me he's cheated on every woman he's been with.
He loves women so much,
Clock
right? He can't just have one, right? He needs to have a lot. Yeah, he's great. I love him.
Every time his phone rings, he like hides it and won't let me see it.
Privacy.
Right. It's like you're dating a spy.
Oh my gosh.
He's mysterious.
Queen, should we clock it?
Clock it! Yeah, he follows me everywhere. He follows me to work. He follows me to Starbucks. He takes my phone so I can't talk to my friends or my family.
Girl, listen to me when I tell you this. That man loves you.
Oh my God.
He's
He's
upset.
Are we allowed to include that? I don't know.
Why not? I'll give credit. The guy's name on TikTok is Brock, and him and his friends, they do these videos for like ignoring red flags and stuff as well. And I think it's honestly, it's interesting because it's guys doing it. I don't want to say educational, but a funny way of being educational.
It's like just satire. This is the lies we tell ourselves.
I do think, though, it makes women feel seen when other guys are like, these are the red flags.
You can argue it's a way of standing up for women.
That's why, like, don't feel alone, guys.
It's also because it's just so bad out there that like
The
you
bar is
literally
in the
have
ground.
to like try to make it work.
The bar is in the ground. That's why also a lot of women are like, yeah, I don't feel alone because like that video alone has like hundreds of thousands of likes and people being like, I can relate to this so much. So we're all trying our best.
But it is like a form of education too, like an awareness that if you voice it that way or make those types of jokes, you see how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, but he has maybe a few handful of those videos, and it's interesting because some of the comments from some of the women are like, oh, well, hearing you say it out loud like that, because some of them are like, oh, all he does is like bikini pictures on Instagram. Oh, he supports women and he's being feminist or whatever. When you start to hear it out loud and you're like, oh, maybe I should think about that.
Like the mental gymnastics you have to take sometimes to, I think we've all been in the situation with a friend who's with somebody that's like, come on, girl. From the outside looking in as the friend, you can hear what they're saying and see how like delusional it sounds. But for them, it's so real. I feel like I've been there too. I've been the person that's this is so real. Me too. But I feel like it's hard because it reminds me of that He's Just Not That Into You movie. And like in the beginning clips where it's like they try to say something to make the girl feel better rather than being, this is just really bad behavior. They just try to explain away to make them not feel bad.
Yeah, we've all been there. I mean, the Waffle House guy, you know, we've all been there.
We've all settled for less. That's for sure.
Stop doing that. One other thing I wanted to bring up is I saw this video on another podcast. They were talking about red flags and green flags. And it's interesting. They were reading prompt. Like, would you consider this a red flag or green flag? So he's a green flag, but he has a girl best friend. And like they had a whole debate on it. So like, what do you think about that? I was just curious.
I did see this.
It's a little bit of a controversial topic, but
it's hard. I think mostly it's not a green flag. It's a red flag. Because, come on, like when is it ever platonic really? And like,
no, they've either fucked before.
Is that your backup girl?
Or,
like, you know,
in the podcast, they talk about how it's worse than the red flag. They're like, what's worse than a red flag?
That's right. They said it's a different color.
From two men.
Yeah.
Two men.
Well, they know because they've been bitched at. I feel like we could do a whole episode on that. It's an issue that can be talked about for sure because this is a problem sometimes and it can ruin a relationship.
I mean, that's what happened with my Waffle House ex. He's like, oh yeah, we've been friends. She's my best friend, all this stuff. And then she was my best friend. And then they were sleeping together the whole time. So I think when it comes down to is your intuition and trust your gut and your judgment in those scenarios, because I do think that that is a controversial topic, but I'm going to be honest, I can't think of one time where I've heard that it's worked out for a positive. But, you know, is it possible for a man to have a girl best friend? I don't think so. But that doesn't mean there's an exception out there somewhere.
Well, there's literally movies, you know, the friends with benefits and no strings attached. It's like, it doesn't really work out that way typically. There's going to be something. Yeah. Like, I guess for the closing arguments, Shawtys, this has been a really great discussion.
How dare you?
No,
My
if you
words.
go back, if you rewind to the beginning of the episode, I said I have a feeling that this podcast episode will be really great.
So after a really great podcast, it's really great.
Well, I also didn't know if you would really say that this time, so I had to make sure that it was like put out there just for the
Just
plot.
so people know.
Yeah, for the consistency of the podcast. But actually, now that we're really getting into the realness of it, Lauren, in 200 words or less, what did you think about today's episode?
I think the topic is very timely, but I also think it's a really important conversation to have. So I'm glad we did it. Hopefully it's helpful for folks who listen. But I do think there's a lot of good takeaways from the episode. I really like episodes like that because it's fun, but I think my biggest takeaway is I think sometimes we forget, like the world's moving, things get crazy, you're so deep into things, is to just take a step back and trust your intuition. I think that's a great takeaway because sometimes as women, we just forget to do that.
I mean, I loved it too. I thought even preparing for it was really fun. I feel like my brain got an exercise, my callus corpusinus, whatever that is. So I liked that part of that too. And I just like talking with you about women things, especially.
I love our podcast.
Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for hanging out with us, Shawtys.
Shawtys.
It's really, really appreciated.
And go listen to Joel and Intuition and then name your own intuition voice. And if you're a man, you have to name it a female name if you want any results.
Yeah, and let us know what razors you use.
That section hit. Like, I didn't really think it was going to, but I was like, damn. And if having problems, try
a men's razor.
Gillette.
Yeah.
Sponsor us.
Sponsor us.
That's all, folks. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next week. Like, subscribe. I'm just going to keep yelling until you do it. Watch, listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and all the places you can get podcasts. It's out there everywhere, guys. Apparently, it's on all the platforms.
Literally, they're shipping it through Amazon.
But also, rate our podcast. Give us 5 stars, guys. We appreciate all your support, and thanks for hanging out with us for 14 episodes, right?
Yeah, 14.
We hope you guys have a fantastic whatever week this is when we post this. Until next time, Shawtys, trust your intuition. Peace.
Peace. Bye, Shawtys.
And about how many people have been like, are you guys really getting a boat? And the fact it went from like, do you guys really have an OnlyFans to are you guys really getting a boat? And I'm like, you guys do realize these are all sticks. Merch is coming. Promise.
Thank you for listening to the Whatever You Like podcast, available on Spotify and Apple platforms.
Please follow our socials on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for additional content. Your support means the world to us, and it'll also keep us from creating an OnlyFans page.
We also would love to talk about whatever you like, so please visit our website to submit topic ideas, suggestions, or stories you want us to discuss.
Thanks, Shawtys. You the hottest. Peace!